Our God and our Father, Lord, we come here tonight and I stand among men who are self-disciplined, spent countless hours training for a night like tonight so they could step into a cage to fight another man who is cut from the same tough, leathery cloth.
My name is Fred Stonehouse. I am 27 years old, and I'm a manager and a full-time martial arts instructor for the Ottawa Academy of Martial Arts, and I run their Rockland location. So actually, next week I'm heading down to Pittsburgh to compete in my third professional MMA fight.
Come on, we go. Good, good, come on. 3.
I want to overcome my fear. I don't want to shy away from challenges. I don't want, if I see an obstacle in the way, I don't want to be the guy that's like, I can't do that. I believe in myself, my team believes in me, and we believe that I can make it to the top, to the pinnacle of the sport. I will be in the UFC. It is only a matter of time. And I'm anticipating bumps in the road, but that's part of growing. But I will be there. And it's not just to be like a guy who's been in there and fought a couple times and left and that's it. I want to be the top. I want to be top 10 UFC fighter. And the more I can do that, the more I can strive towards this goal, the more credentials I have under my belt as well, and the more I can affect people with martial arts. I found teaching and I found martial arts before I started competing. And I wanted more people to believe in martial arts in general, believe in the message that it gives to children, adults, anybody who's ever done it, about self-confidence and growth and being your best. Depending on what I'm fighting, I have to prepare differently. If it's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament or a Muay Thai fight or an MMA fight. So this one was MMA. We try to start 6 to 8 weeks before the scheduled fight. And it's about getting your conditioning up to par. So that might mean sprints, running, conditioning circuits, but we need to be physically ready to endure who knows what, like the worst case scenarios, and be able to push beyond our capacity and beyond our limit, and getting mentally prepared too by going through grueling training sessions or pad sessions, grappling, wrestling. There's not enough time in the day to go through everything you need to go through, and your body can only do so much. So it's about finding that balance and slowly increasing the intensity as you approach the fight, and at the right moment, as you start to peak, we taper down so we can maintain that high level of intensity, that optimum efficiency with our bodies.
To bring out the best in somebody, you have to ask them why. You have to demand something of them, but you also have to kind of like ask them the question, for them to look inside themselves. My kind of job is just to make sure these guys are fit, and by fit, it doesn't mean just strong and looking good. It means that they can last, bell to bell, complete pedal to the metal fighting, and they're going to be okay, and that's not just physical, that's mental too, that's psychological. These guys have to transform into something very special just for that day. It doesn't have to be the day before, it doesn't have to be the day after.
He sees me from an outside perspective, so when you're hitting the pads and you think you're that badass, I got that power, look at this power, he's the one who'll call me out and show me where my technical flaws are.
What if we love each other, look out for one another? What if we love, what if we love, what if we love, love, love?
Booking complications at a hotel near the fight venue mean the weigh-ins are held at a nearby comic book shop.
So, on our drive up, we stopped in Erie. It's like a place on the way here, like 2 hours from here. It was about 2 a.m. and we crashed at just a little motel. And I woke up, I was about 167, and then went for a run. After my run, I was 167. Came to Pittsburgh, started my weight cut last night in the tub, made it down to about 160 this morning, and then cut another 4 or 5 pounds in the sauna this morning. And then we relax, you try to not freak out or panic. You go and you sleep and you just kind of zone out until it's time to come here and weigh in. Recovery and relaxing, that's it. That's it. No stress. Try not to overthink. Try not to think much at all. Just get into the zone, get into a good place, be calm, be positive, and rehydrate. It's going to take me, 5 to 6 hours to replenish the 15 pounds of water I've lost in the last little bit. So I'm lean, I'm mean, and I'm ready to fight.
The hardest part to train is the mind. You come in and train, your body will get stronger, your kicks, your punches, your grappling, your takedowns, all that will get better. But the mind is the hardest to train. So yeah, your mind will tell you about the worst case scenarios and you start to freak out, you get nervous, you get anxious, you get excited, you get angry, you get scared, you get happy, you get all the emotions run through you. The job of the fighter is to keep those in check and to keep those in control. So cool, calm, collected, and just understand that you're putting the work in and the effort in. You will be prepared when the time is come.
Along with teammate and co-competitor Adam Hunter, who was fighting in the co-main event, Fred arrives at the stage AE around 4:30. There's a brief chance to examine the cage and get a feel for its confines before making his way to the holding room, where fighters from the blue corner prepare and await their matches. There are a few things yet to be done: a doctor's checkup, which usually happens on weigh-in day, a fighter's meeting with the referee, and, in this case, a chance run-in with his opponent, 22-year-old Devontae Smith from Ohio. Around 90 minutes from his fight time, the ritual begins. The team's Mike Fitz begins the artistry of wrapping Fred's hands and wrists, while in the background a closed-circuit TV broadcasts the early card fights. An official signs off on the wraps, and Fred is fitted into his gloves.
But as you get closer to the fight, begin to stretch, warm up, get a sweat going. And the first few times you hit the pads, you feel almost weak or like slow. And then you're breathing heavy because you're nervous. And then you start to sweat more and you feel good. And then you feel fast and you feel strong and you feel ready. And right as they're about to tell you to go out, okay, Fred, you're up. It's the hardest feeling to explain. They call it mushin. The samurai would call it mushin, and it's this mind to no mind state. It's almost like a Zen feeling where the fear disappears and there's no anger, there's no anxiety, there's nothing. It's a very strange feeling.
I was going relatively well up into, the end. There's a quick exchange on the feet. The guy took Fred down, and then, landed in a dominant position. Fred was able to, move into a more neutral position, and he had a really good submission attempt on him. Had a relatively tight triangle. He was missing a couple details, I think, to finish it and get the tap, and then there's a couple scrambles, some leg lock transitions. And then, I think Fred made a bit of a mistake in the sense that he allowed for too much distance. And, his hips and his leg work weren't exactly right. And he basically took a big shot that rattled him. And then I thought it probably should have been stopped at that point. There's a subsequent, at least 2 more shots before it was stopped, and Fred obviously came out of the losing end. He got knocked out and he was transported to the trauma center, and unfortunately that's part of the game. It happens, and I know at Ottawa Academy of Martial Arts we've had similar events, and guys suffer devastating knockouts and go on to careers in the UFC. So I mean it happens, and I don't think this diminishes Fred in terms of a prospect, but he's going to have to go back to the drawing board, and we're going to have to auto-correct a few of those things, and I have no doubt that he'll be back better than ever.
When I come back, can you and I and Pat sit down and lay out a plan? Because I want to be the best, Nick, and I don't want to I want to train consistently, and I don't want to only train when I have fights, and I don't want to only work hard when I have to. I want to be the best, Nick. I want to be in the UFC. I want to be #1.